Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Rural Rapport. My name is Jessica Campos, and I am the Women's Business Center Director here at the Center for Rural Affairs. And with me, I do have Raúl Arcos Hawkins, who is our Business Development Specialist here at the Center for Rural Affairs. And we are here to talk about all of these great opportunities that were offered this year. And unfortunately, a lot of our business owners were not able to qualify or missed these opportunities. And this is why Raul had the opportunity to discuss and really review a lot of this information with our business owners, is here to share with us today. So Raul, thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me, Jessica.
Excellent. So just to go over what our topic today is, the importance of really having your finances in place, especially during tax season and in preparing for tax season. I know this is one of the most impactful things for business owners as we're trying to take advantage of a lot of the opportunities coming our way. So Raul, I know you had a chance to do a lot of these this year. So what are your suggestions, or what's the importance? What's the most important thing about getting all these things ready for us?
I think one of the big, and just to clarify, when we're talking about opportunities, it's these grants that are available, some funding that has been coming down the pipeline that we're going to be seeing here in the next couple of months. I think it's important to be prepared because even with last year when we were seeing the PPP, the RRF, and the EIDL loans, a lot of that information that they were collecting in order to apply for some of that funding was, having your taxes done and filed, having those legal entities, and having all those documents on hand. A lot of times, unfortunately, this year we've had the 5-Serve grant, which was funding for minority-owned businesses who, unfortunately, some of them, the funding that was available for Nebraska and part of Iowa, the funding went through really quickly. I mean, it was, I think, within 2 months, all the funding was gone. And unfortunately, some of those businesses were not prepared enough for this opportunity because, one, they hadn't filed their taxes yet because they were on extension. Unfortunately, some of them changed address and they didn't update with the Nebraska Secretary of State, and they didn't file those articles amendment to let the state know, which would allow to have these missed opportunities, as Jessica said, which were unfortunate because it was a $10,000 grant. So we're seeing, unfortunately, that this has happened, not only this year, but even last year and then the previous year when we saw the flooding in 2019. So it is super important to be prepared and to make sure that when you have all these documents that meet a deadline, that you have to meet those deadlines on that deadline or before, so that way you are prepared that when these opportunities do come or do arise, that you're prepared to apply. Because like I mentioned before, some of this funding goes out really quickly.
Raul, and you mentioned a few times, the importance of being prepared, really being prepared. What would you say, or how can business owners, either starting up or existing business owners for years, how could they better prepare, especially during this tax season, for opportunities such as grants that are coming out there?
I think always number one is having a great record keeping system, because that's going to allow you to access those documents that you may need, and ensuring that you understand number one, where they're at and how accessible are they to you, because that is going to speed up the process of applying for any of these grants that are available out there or any of the funding that is coming down the pipeline. Number two is always being prepared. Make sure that again, if you're keeping a good record system, that you're able to access them quickly, because a lot of these applications that are out there for grants are on a deadline, and you have to apply because it's always on the first come first serve basis. So if you say that you're delayed because you unfortunately your business moved because the lease, right now with increase in inflation, and your lease went up and you moved to another location and you didn't notify the Secretary of State's office, file those articles of amendment to change it, because it does take about a week or a week and a half to get that process fully through. One of the huge ones that we've seen, again, going back to that legal entity, is that unfortunately some of these small business owners forget to do the biannual report for those LLCs, all those trade names. And unfortunately, if you don't file the biannual report, that company is dissolved, and then you have to pay a fee to get that LLC reinstated. So it is super important to be prepared, to have those documents on hand, or to have them updated in order for you to apply quickly for some of these opportunities that are coming down the pipeline.
Mhm. And I know you mentioned some of the opportunities that come down the pipeline. Do we have an idea, the pipeline, I apologize. Do we have an idea of how many opportunities come a year, or when they're going to be kind of just popping up there from either the state or federal, or?
To be honest, Jessica, unfortunately, we don't. These are just opportunities that come. Sometimes we find out maybe a couple of weeks before it starts. Sometimes we find out, like we just found out another one that was a couple of days before it ended, the deadline. So it was unfortunate because we weren't unable to help some of the small business owners to apply for that grant. But that's why it's super important to be prepared, to have good record keeping, so that when these opportunities do pop up, you're able to apply for them as quickly as possible. Because again, most of these opportunities are on a first come first serve basis. So if you don't have everything ready to go, unfortunately, it's that time clock that we have to beat in order to be one of the first ones in line, in order to obtain any of that funding. So again, it is super important, to be prepared, so that way, in case there's funding coming down the pipeline, that you're able to apply really quick, and we're able to speed that process through a little bit faster.
Mhm. And I think you kind of mentioned it throughout this rural rapport, but is there additional advice, or what additional advice would you have and recommend for either upcoming business owners, startup, or existing business owners, especially as this year is coming to an end, and a new year is coming, and every new year brings new opportunities.
And as the end of the year is coming, always just remember, maybe have a checklist of everything that you need to do. If you're going to be preparing for taxes, what are some of those things that you're going to be putting in as costs in your taxes that you're going to be taking off as a cost? Did your business change address? Did it change activity? Do you have to file an amendment? Again, looking at some of these, if you're not charging sales tax, and now you are you registered? Did you get that permit with the Nebraska Department of Revenue? So just having a small checklist of, making sure that all your ducks are in a row, and you're crossing all your T's and all your I's, having those important documents on hand, having a good record keeping system, I think is going to allow a business to be more successful. Again, with some of the funding that is coming down the pipeline, it is super important to have them on hand, because again, first come, first serve. So if you're not able to have any of these documents, we have to update information while the time frame is still ticking away for these opportunities. We're going to miss them. So I think that's the number one takeaway, is being prepared.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Raul, for bringing all of that knowledge and all of your experience that we've had this year. And thank you guys so much for joining us today for our Rural Report. And if, once again, there are any additional questions after this, please feel free to reach out to us and visit our website at cfra.org. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.